Happy International Women's Day, everyone. It's a great way to celebrate it. Okay, Catherine needs no introduction, especially not here among friends, but isn't it an enormous pleasure to welcome her 10th novel? She has the most intense work rate of almost any writer I know. But that doesn't mean she lives her life with keyboard glued to her fingers. On the contrary, you may not all know the extent of her contribution to the literary life of the country, or of her encouragement of emerging writers. She's in great demand as a teacher. We were at the Dunne Literary Festival this weekend, and when somebody mentioned Catherine's workshop from the stage, there was a huge cheer and applause from the audience. But she's generous in giving her time, energy and expertise to, for example, the board of the Irish Writers' Centre, where she was vice chair, and in setting up and maintaining the Italo-Irish Literary Exchange, which is now in its 5th year. She's been absolutely unstinting in that, even though she's not one of the writers who benefits. She gives time, which is the most precious resource a writer has, let's not forget, to important organisations that deserve support, like writing stories and essays in aid of literacy or Médecins Sans Frontières, or that fine non-fiction book, An Unconsidered People, which still stands alone in its examination of the Irish immigrant experience in Britain. It's been described as a social history of a generation whose needs were not ever considered by this state. Not many people will remember that while Catherine was writing that book, she spent a night among the homeless in London to raise awareness and in aid of a homeless charity. I think that book's shortly to be reissued by anyone.
It has a new life on Kindle. Yeah.
It has a new life on Kindle. It's typical of Catherine that when she does this kind of work, she does it quietly and away from the public eye. It's the opposite of self-promotion. It's about facilitating and supporting causes she believes in. Her first novel, prophetically entitled In the Beginning, was published in 1997. It told the story of a woman whose marriage falls apart after 20 years. She has to pull herself together and remake herself from the ground up, hold what's left of her family together despite emotional and financial upheaval. Rose only has her own character, determination and good friends to count on, but these see her through the crisis. The novel struck a chord not only in Ireland, but famously in Italy, where she's something of a superstar. I know because I've been there with her and I've seen the response she gets from Italian audiences. Famously, when Veronica Lario took her then-husband Silvio Berlusconi to task for his public shenanigans with young women by writing an open letter to him in one of his own newspapers, she wrote that his treatment of her made her feel like a Catherine Dunne character, half of nothing. But in fact, taking out a whole-page ad to shame an errant husband in one of his own newspapers is exactly the kind of thing a Catherine Dunne character would do. Her women are often trapped in dispiriting or dangerous situations, but they're not victims. They don't stay trapped for long. They come out fighting. They redeem themselves through work and friendship. Some of her characters, male and female, are weak, needy, or controlling, but others are strong, supportive, and enabling, a bit like Catherine. No one is all good, and some of them are very, very bad. The complexity of her characters is one of her strengths as a writer. The thing of it is, those of us who know and love Catherine as a friend, and those of us who know her generally irreproachable character, her status as model citizen and net contributor to society, have reason to sit up and pay attention to the shift that comes in this novel. Because look out, Catherine's characters are getting darker. They take their misbehaviour to new levels. It's worse they're getting. The strapline for the years that followed is, "Revenge is better than regret. Be warned." This novel shows a shift in Catherine's style as well as in content. She takes the use of alternating points of view to a new level, and the result is a layering of the story that makes for compelling reading. Quite the opposite of the keyboard glued to the fingers expectation, Catherine gets around in her own life. One of the refreshing things about her fiction is that it reflects this. She's not afraid to send her characters abroad, and if necessary, she'll go there after them to catch the atmosphere. This novel moves between Dublin, Cyprus, Spain, and London, reflecting how mobile we all are now, the village that Europe has become. The novel features two women who are trying to get back to their children, or trying to get their children back, and I won't say whether or not they succeed. At one stage, one of the characters realizes that she's trapped only by her own acquiescence. It's an enormously difficult realization, one we all come to sooner or later. The only person who can save you is yourself. But fiction reminds us that we're not alone, and Catherine's fiction is something of a rough guide to finding your way back through the woods to where you strayed from the path. She's written about difficult subjects, the death of children, cyberbullying, suicide, euthanasia. Up until now, her interest has been in survival and redemption, but it's exhilarating to see her step outside our expectations into new territory. She said herself that this novel is the first in a trilogy, all based on Greek myth, and as in myth, the heroes are also villains. They invent their own moral code and live by it quite comfortably, thank you very much. It's going to be a treat to see what she does next. So now I'm going to hand you over to Tricia from Macmillan, who's going to properly launch the book.